In this quick tip tutorial, I'm going to cover a way that you can utilize a spline stroke draw mode to quickly create loop selections that otherwise would be very tedious if you had to do these by hand, or you can use this to quickly create repeating indentions or creases, whatever the case may be, if you want to use it for sculpting purposes. But you can also use it in the paint workspace. But let's go ahead and get started here. In my reference image, you can see the gator arms are relatively uniform in its pattern. After I create these, I can go back and break it up just a little bit with a move tool to introduce a little bit of randomness and whatnot. But as I'm creating it, I'm just going to stick with a more uniform pattern here. Initially, it doesn't seem to be all that difficult, but if you're having to hand sketch these lines, it can be extremely tedious and time consuming. So the one I have created here, I can go to my little toggle and I can save it and load it. I'm just going to go ahead and hit escape, and we'll first take a look at using the freeze brush here. And that's what I'm trying to do, is freeze all the areas that are going to be indented, and then that way it's automatically going to build scales as I sculpt. In some cases you might be able to use stencils, but on a limb like this where it's bent, it may not line up the way you want. This can really be a big time saver. So let's go ahead and try with just a regular brush. And you can see how I have to constantly move. You can use steady stroke, and that'll help a lot. Still, you're having to move around, try to connect, and it can be very time consuming. And then you might have to erase parts of the line and redo it. I'll undo to erase all that. So now let's go ahead and use the spline stroke draw mode here. And I basically want to scale my brush according to how wide I want my stroke to be. And I also have a brush alpha. As you can see, when I scale it up, it's relatively sharp. So again, I'll reduce that down. And really the yellow circle is not what we're concerned about, it's the actual white part. That's what is actually going to be laying down pixels in the freeze tool. Alright, so I'll click my first point. Just go ahead and walk this around. On curved surfaces, you might have to put down a few more points so that it adheres to the surface without dipping underneath. If it dips some distance beneath the surface, then you might not get an accurate stroke. And that's whether you're sculpting, painting, or freezing. So I hit escape to drop the initial state of the spline. And I'm going to go to the little toggle here, and I have closed spline checked. If I don't have that, it's just going to be a single spline like this. And it's not closed. Now I could just put this point over the top and it basically creates a closed type of effect, but it's still being treated as if it's an open spline. So let's close that. And if I need, I can go back and edit the points position. And I can add points. If I hover over a part of the spline, and when it's highlighted green, I can just click on it to add a new point. I can delete a point by hovering over it and hitting the delete key. With that created, I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter key, and that's going to create the stroke. Now you might notice some strange splotches or something like that. Let me go ahead and undo. And steady stroke, oftentimes if you have that turned on and you're not using it, it can create some strange behavior, so make sure to turn that off when you're not using it. I'll hit enter again, and there we have it. It's complete. So how do we utilize this over again to create another stroke? Let's go to our little toggle, let's choose transform all. And let's rotate it. Maybe scale it along the axis, move it, scale it globally. And as long as it's fairly close to the surface, I can just go ahead and hit the Enter key, and it's going to create a new stroke. Okay, so I can just keep doing this. And if you want, you can make it snap accurately to the surface. And let's go ahead and do that. Let's go attach to surface. And let's go ahead and hit the Enter key. Now to move it, I'm not going to worry about detaching. I'm just going to go ahead and move using this transform gizmo. Okay, hit it one more time. So yeah, that's a much quicker way of creating repeating strokes. And again, you can use this for a multitude of different things, whether you're sculpting repeated scales, repeating lines, just paint strokes, whatever the case may be, you can reuse that and reuse it over and over again. So I hope you found it helpful. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.